The top 10 moments in Dad's Army next on the best television you never saw. So, welcome again to the best television you never saw, and we're going back to a topic that we've done before, which seemed to be very popular with the people tuning into the podcast. So we thought we would go into the top 10 moments in Dad's Army. So we'll do it alternately. I'll start off with number 10, which is Time on My Hands, the episode where they're stuck up in the clock tower trying to get a German parachutist off the top of the tower. And the specific moment is Corporal Jones, who gets involved in the clockwork figures, one of which is a small knight, and he repeatedly shoves his sword up into the nether regions or the posterior of Corporal Jones. And of course, up until now, in the previous 5 series of this, one of his catchphrases has been, "They don't like it up 'em. They don't like it up 'em." And so finally he gets it. And he says is, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's had plenty of build-up for that to work very well like that. And tell you what, that's very typical Perry and Croft automaton or fake automaton, isn't it? They love devices like that, like the things that would light up and be rude in how you're being served, that kind of thing. But they love it.
You could always blame it on a robot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
which actually was the first episode of Dad's Army I ever saw on a Saturday afternoon.
Really?
Played by New Jersey Network in a truncated form. So because that episode actually runs a little over 30 minutes, and they chopped it up so it was for a commercial television showing here, even though it was not shown on a commercial station when I was seeing it. But so that his saying that didn't really register with me. I didn't get it until many, many viewings later.
No, you need the cumulative effect. And can I do an in-joke here and say that with
Sure.
the running time here, it was not too little, not too much. Does that ring any bells? This goes back to the guy playing the German dangling from the clock, Christopher Sanford, who, apart from being known as a comedy writer and actor and so on, actually did have a bit of a career as a pop star. And his big hit was called Not Too Little, Not Too Much. like Arthur Lowe, he'd been in Coronation Street. That's what really got him noticed. And I think he was playing an aspiring pop singer in the show. And Decca signed him up for a while, and that was his big hit, as I remember, fairly big anyway. But and Fraser was still working. He's done all manner of very amusing, good things over the years. I'm one of the many who remember his parody of the Telly Savalas cover of If, which he did. He did a parody with Bill Mitchell, no relation, that did very well in the charts in 1975. And another one. They actually got an album on the strength of that. It was such a hit that the 2 sides of the single made it onto an LP they did with other songs and sketches and what have you, called Tales for Heads, which is a wonderfully funny LP. If you can find a copy of it, grab it. It's wonderful. And later on, he did a single that was Sending Up the Smurfs, which I thought nailed it rather well. It was Stamp Upon a Scurf Today.
So I don't work blue, so.
Yes, I'm going to withhold all my jokes about Smurfs. Okay?
So what do you have for number 9 on the best top 10 moments in Dad's Army?
Where are we now? The Royal Train. According to my notes, that's number 9, which I looked at again recently. Number 9. I looked at it again recently. I'm not going to start another revolution here, but Yeah, the tag to it, of course, is that after all this business with the raw train, the build up to the expectation of it all, the platoon are in the wrong place and they just get splashed seriously. And I looked at it, and to be honest, I didn't think it was as funny as I thought previously. And but the best part of it is actually before that they get to do the runaway train business.
Yeah.
There they are on this out of control loco because there's a key component that's been lost, and you've got Hodges as ever grouped with the vicar and the verger, attempting to save their lives, actually on side project, or one of those handcart things, trying to catch up with them to get that component to them. And of course, once that situation is resolved, the loco, well, it's almost resolved because the loco backs up and they've got to get out of the way quickly, otherwise they're going to get crushed, and so on. That really is the best part of it. But before we get to the payoff with the splash from the passing wrong train, so that's the bit I actually find funnier than the tag now. I think that that it's funny that a few shows had a go at that. Last the Summer Wine did it, an episode called Full
Yes.
Steam Behind. Yeah,
Yes.
so a
Yeah.
few of them wanted to have a go at that, but it's quite
That
possible. I don't know.
probably one of the best Last of the Summer Wine episodes, as
Actually,
I
yeah.
recall them. Yeah. It
I
was,
think it's the one that sticks out in memory for me more than any of the others, actually.
yeah.
Possibly because of that.
Because most of them, the other ones were pretty formulaic. So when you throw a train in there or an old engine, it's going to stick out. Oh, that's the one with the engine.
Yeah.
So
Do you think that at one point or another, a lot of these shows just wanted to have a crack at doing "Oh, Mr. Porter," way revisited?
well, I think that a lot of people have a great fondness for trains and locomotives, and
Oh,
especially the old steam engines. They did the whole series. Oh, Dr. Beeching off of that,
yeah.
off of the love of trains.
Oh,
So
sure. So
so
yeah.
anyway, let me go on to number 8.
Oh,
The episode is Ring Dem Bells, and it is Ian Lavender as Private Pike, playing a Nazi officer.
yeah, a worse movie Nazi officer.
Yes. Yeah,
It's
but
just
he
easy.
has so much fun because it is the perfect thing for a stupid boy to do.
Oh yeah.
Because they're supposed to be helping out with an army film,
It's
and
a
they
training film for the
draft
whole.
the platoon to play the Germans, and Captain Mainwaring, they don't have a uniform that would fit him. I guess if they had Hermann Goering in it, but they maybe, but anyway, so Pike and Wilson wind up playing the officer, and Pike just goes to town with it. He's going around and he's slapping his riding crop against his boots and saying, "So, Mannering, we are the masters now," And
Yeah.
then as they're riding to the location in the van, he's sticking out of the top, doing the Hitler salute all over the place to no one in particular as they just go through the town. And then when they stop uh, to go to a pub, they're not supposed to, but
Yeah.
Mannering goes to use the telephone, and the rest of them all go in because it's a very hot day. And he goes in. It's Jack Haig, I believe,
It's Jack
who's the
Haig.
pub, yeah, who's the landlord,
Yeah.
and he says something like 12 ginger beers with the ginger shandy or something. I'm getting the line wrong,
Yeah.
but it throws the whole area into a panic. But yeah, he just loves doing that, playing a Nazi.
Yeah. And as is usual with Pike, he is informed by what he's seen in films.
Yes.
Yeah, because before they realise they're going to be cast as the Germans, they think they're going to be playing British officers. Pike fancies himself as Ronald Colman and draws on this stupid little pencil moustache.
Yes.
He's told there's a smudge in Pike, there's a smudge on his lip, taking off, or something like that. But having been thwarted in his Ronald Colman ambitions, he then goes OTT, a real Comrade White type or something like that. A movie propaganda German officer. and really
Well,
goes for it. And of course, he forgets himself. He starts to behave as though he and Uncle Arthur are really officers now when it comes
mhm.
to not falling in with the platoon and so, oh no, we're officers.
Yeah,
It totally goes to his head.
and that's another time where both Wilson and Pike comment on how smart the uniforms are.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
in fact, I have a friend who is totally not a fascist, furthest thing from it, but he thinks that boy, those SS uniforms were really sharp, and they were, you know. I guess if you need a real good tailor if you're going to be evil, you know.
Well, this is the thing. It's all clever marketing, isn't it, really?
Yes, it's all packaging. So
Yeah.
anyway, that was number 8. Number 7, please.
Oh, number 7, Getting the Bird, which is again about Wilson, but this time Wilson and Fraser in the conclusion, which is the real gem of this episode. Um, Simply that Wilson is seen round about. Everybody thinks he's got a young girl on the go, a girlfriend, and there's this attractive young Wren officer. People think he's having an affair with her, and in the end, um, Fraser is the one who sees and hears what's really going on. The girl is Wilson's daughter, long estranged from a marriage that was long since over. And Wilson explains to a very understanding Fraser that his wife had left him long ago, took the daughter, and he managed to get into a good school, and it shows, and he was pleased with the result there. And but yes, that Fraser is the one who realised that this is the daughter, and he admits to what a bletherer he can be or whatever, but assures Wilson that nobody will ever hear anything about this from him. His discretion is assured, and Wilson is very appreciative of this, and it shows a warmth and compassion that normally Fraser does not express. He's a curmudgeon, but not this time. He understands. He has enormous sympathy for Wilson's position, and of course, this is well, it opens up Wilson's background to us a little more because, for one thing, it makes it plain that there was a reason why he and Mrs. Pike hadn't made it legal, because Wilson is not divorced. He is estranged from his wife. She's long since left the picture, and so he can't marry Mrs. Pike, and so their association has to continue unofficially as it does, because there is a Mrs. Wilson out there.
Mhm.
And also, it actually reminds me of a similar moment in Ever Decreasing Circles, where Paul, the seemingly perfect man played by Peter Egan, um, he admits to having had a failed marriage, and of course his adversary Martin um, is actually reassured by this, because this is a man who seems to get everything right, a charmed existence, never does anything wrong, nothing goes wrong for him. But it's eventually made known that Paul's marriage did go wrong. And so Martin feels better about that. In the way that Mainwaring sees Wilson's existence as being a charmed, privileged one, that everything goes right for him. In this instance, no, it didn't. The marriage failed. And he was left with a great deal of personal unhappiness as a result. Lost his wife and a strange daughter. And I do see a parallel between these two. I don't know if you've ever thought about that.
Yeah, and it also lends a deeper understanding to Wilson's underlying melancholy.
Yes,
Yeah, so
yes,
that yeah,
yes.
definitely.
This is
But actually, he almost did marry Mrs. Pike in the second series,
oh,
Sergeant Wilson's Little
yes,
Secret.
yes. This is true. And have we stumbled across a small inconsistency here?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
or, or should we have assumed that Wilson's wife not only left him, but actually divorced him? Because he doesn't, I don't think they actually say so in that episode, do they?
Well, and it also tells us that Pike might have had a half sister.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So
Fortunately, there's no resemblance to
yeah.
at least to his behaviour. But yes,
Which brings us to number 6, which is from A. Wilson, manager, which is the tension, uh, which is seen throughout the series, but I'd say probably most underlined here, the tension between Mannering and Wilson, um, which again, just like it's interesting that so many of these best moments are dramatic moments, which is a testament to the fact that the cast were tremendous actors. Uh,
yes,
Wilson is made a manager of another branch, albeit very shortly, briefly.
yes, yeah. But yes, the this certainly there are these explorations of the to and fro balance between the two of them, socially and professionally. Yeah, Wilson, the natural aristocrat, and Mannering, well, the grammar school boy, who was not socially accepted. Um, Arthur Wilson becomes an honourable and is
The
automatically
honorable.
going to join the golf club. Mannering has
Yep.
been trying to get in for years, and he's just
Mhm.
blocked. That's the difference. Um, even through happenstance, Wilson was the genuine First World War officer with combat experience. Mannering didn't get there until the shooting had stopped, but that was to no
Right.
fault of his own. That's just that's the way it fell.
And what's interesting in Room at the Bottom, when Mannering is demoted all the way to a private,
Mm.
Wilson gets a lot of enjoyment out of that.
Mm. Yeah, there is this sort of yeah. Schadenfreude is probably the word, but
Yes.
that's perhaps too strong for it. A certain satisfaction in a way, yes,
Yes.
yeah, and because of course Mannering is trapped socially beneath Wilson, but Wilson is trapped professionally beneath Mannering,
Yeah.
which is why the offer of the manager's job in another branch, short-lived because it got bombed out, was Wilson's escape route from that. Neither can escape from this disparity between them in opposite directions.
Yeah.
Uh,
They will always be having this tug of war.
yeah,
Yeah. It's, one might be ahead at one time or another, but it's still the tension just remains constant throughout the series.
yes.
Number 5, please.
Number 5. I feels like I'm calling bingo here. One of us is. Oh yes, this was me. Back to um, back to that long-standing bugbear about the long missing loneliness of the long-distance walker. Oh boy! As I said previously, it's the episode that stuck out in my memory, and it's one of the 3 that are missing, and it's deeply frustrating. But it is the one that answers the question as regards Walker's call-up. Why didn't he go into the forces? And the answer is that, just to recap, yes, he did, but he was invalided out in about 5 minutes because of an allergy to corned beef. But, but the business that probably remained uppermost in my memory was concerned the various ruses to try to get him to fail the medical. Where Jonesy initially says fill his ears up with water, make him deaf. Forget it. And there's hit upon the idea that if he had flat feet, he'd be turned down. And they got this business with him in bare feet having to jump on a hard floor from a few steps up a step ladder repeatedly, as if that's going to do the trick. It doesn't. But I remember all that business with the jumping and the sheer pain of and unfortunately, it's a missing episode. All we have is the radio version, which does not convey that business terribly well. It can't do. It doesn't translate into sound. What you get are a lot of pained noises with each descent. Ow, ow, as it kicks, and the and that just I don't know. That just seems cruel to listen to. It's more. It was funny to see. It's painful to listen to. You feel rather more sorry for the guy when you just hear the anguished howls as his feet hit the floor. It doesn't work in the same way, but a lot of it doesn't though, because the the radio adaptation, like a number of the others, had to undergo substantial rewrites for various reasons. One of them being that if you eliminated a lot of the visual business, as you had to, you could find yourself underrunning. And so there are I think there are at least two sections in the radio version that aren't in the TV script, which, of course, those missing episodes were published in book form. So I was able to consult those recently when we said we were going to be doing this. And there's a whole lengthy thing at the beginning of the radio episode that's not in the TV script, something to do with collecting and recycling doorknobs, wasn't it? Or scrap. I don't, but it's the sort of thing that I have to add to the radio version to, say, bring it up to length. Because an awful lot of the stuff, say, like the jumping off the steps and all that, was very visual, and you couldn't spend as much time on that, so the script was getting shorter. Actually, another key difference, there's no Pike. He's in the TV version, but he's not in the radio version of that episode. And his lines are redistributed variously to Fraser and Godfrey. No Pike. For some reason, maybe Ian Lavender was unavailable for that one, or I don't know. And very sadly, of course, by the time they did that one, James Beck, who played Walker, had gone. He lived long enough to do some of the earlier radio episodes. In fact, if I remember correctly, they recorded some of the one or two of the radio episodes the day before he was taken ill.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
at the Playhouse, Northumberland Avenue. And by the time this one, though, he'd gone and they had to have others playing James Beck. I think Larry and Martin did them later, but in this one, it was Graham Stark.
Mm-hmm.
And now Stark was a very talented actor, director, and so on, very versatile. But for me, he doesn't get Walker. He seemed to think that he was a very rough-voiced Cockney and with a tendency to bark out the lines. Whereas, of course, Joe Walker was, okay, it's a down-market accent, but it was a rather smooth one, a voice you could imagine sidling up to you in an alleyway, asking, if you have anything like elastic, nylons, oranges, the sort of, not sotto voce per se, but smooth, like a con man's voice, not a barking Cockney voice, which is the way Stark plays it, unfortunately, and it coarsens it for me, coarsens the character, and it makes him far less sympathetic. It's the same thing with people I've heard doing Sid James. Very few people get Sid right, as far as I'm concerned. And again, the tendency to bark, which Sid didn't have. He again, for a rough voice, had a strangely silky quality as an insinuating quality, which would-be impersonators often miss, I'm afraid. So, but it was certainly the same with the Walker of this radio version. So, yes, alas, this is no substitute for the television original, but it's all we have, unless somebody turns something up. So there we are, with a bit of luck, but hey, I'm not going to hold my breath.
I'll move on to number 4, which is, throughout many episodes, Fraser's Yarns.
Oh.
So we have Fraser telling stories, usually very tall tales about slithery things. His ex diving partner Wally dying from the dreaded bends. One of my favorites is when he's relating about the girl he was in love with, who was walking along the cliffs one day, and she fell off, and his beloved Jessie, and he pined away for her for years, and then one day he got a note from her that she'd fell off the cliffs, she'd been picked up by a ship, and she was in Australia or New Zealand, and she'd send him £5 and she'd return home to him. And they said, well, what did you do? He said, what do you think? I made of money? So it was obviously Jessie was his second love, but
yeah. quite.
But
The
the one
promoted
that just wraps it
Scott.
all up after
Yes.
all these long, labored, involved stories that he's told is in the last series in Wake Up Warmington. They're spending the night in a barn, and they're just bedding down for the night. And he says, "Captain Mainwaring, did I ever tell you the story of the old empty barn?" And he goes, "No, I don't think so." He goes, "No." It gets everyone's attention. Everyone, pay attention. Private Fraser is going to tell us the story of the old empty barn. And he gets that wild-eyed look on him that he had, and he goes, "The old empty barn." There was nothing in it,
Yes.
which is the perfect,
Yeah, actually
the perfect
sending.
way to wrap up the whole series of gags.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
anticlimactic.
yeah. It's sending out all the ones that have gone before.
Yes.
One of my favourites was about the lighthousemen, two lighthousemen who were trapped, and they demolished it brick by brick. Brick by, when he says it as well, brick by brick, which I can't quite do.
By
And
brick.
of course, they were mad. They were quite mad. Mad.
So
Wonderful.
can you give us number 3?
Oh, where are we? Where are we? Are we anywhere near Sons of the Sea?
We are near Sons of the Sea.
I thought we might be. Yeah, there's a lot of business in there. The business of rowing, both actually doing it and earlier practicing it with seats laid out in the formation.
Brooms.
Yeah, formed as a rowing crew, but actually on dry land still. And there's a lot of business in both sections really. And you've got in the former, of course, the only one there who really has any genuine experience of all this is Fraser again. He's ex-Navy and he's done all this. And he knows the terminology and knows how to pronounce it. And of course, Mainwaring keeps mispronouncing the various terms, and Fraser corrects him. And the real killer on this, of course, is it gets to he interjects "rollicks," which Mainwaring, of course, insists on cleaning up the sound of by pronouncing it "Rolox," which is how it's spelled. Yes, in the Rolox. He's not rising to the plate too much on this. He's just pressing on with the
He talks about the coxswain.
coxswain. Yes.
Yeah.
And,
well, then later when they're in the boat, Pike asks, "Is it true if I do it, I'll go blind?"
Yeah, he says, the British like, I'll go off it. Do you think I'll go blind? What, Frank? And then, well, say if you do it, you'll go blind. And the audience there seemed terribly slow, actually. I wonder how many wonderfully, to their credit, naive people in the studio audience who really did not get the implication of that. And of course, they clean it up and say, "Oh, the ancient mariners drank the seawater and he bread blood." Well, I think you drank rather more of it than you did, Frank. But
Right.
as studio audience were not necessarily picking up the implications of that. And then there's that marvelous moment where Walker makes a gag. It's something to do with the Milky Way. They talk about this navigating by the stars because they've got lost. They think they're at sea. They started out in a river and got lost in the mist, and they're actually out at sea because, of course, Frank says that it's salt water. They realize they're not in the river anymore; they're at sea. And Walker makes this joke about, rather lame joke by his standards, about the Milky Way, I think it is. And Mainwaring seems to be going to admonish Walker, he's spoken to him in the past about his comments in the past, and he thinks he's going to get a ticking off. And instead, Mainwaring shows great appreciation for the man's humour and how it's good for morale. Men like you are the backbone of England. Of course, Walker doesn't know what to say about this. He doesn't know how to respond. Oh, well, let's do our best to keep it on. But this was after a notably lame joke, not even one of his good ones. But that was it seems a lame joke is what appealed to Mainwaring, and Mainwaring really doesn't have much humour, I suppose. But it completely confounds expectations, both on the part of the audience and in Walker. He's not expecting to be praised for this. It's possibly a first and only. But that's a wonderful moment. Wonderful moment. Again, upturning expectations in the same way as there's nothing in it. That's,
Well, and number two is also from Sons of the Sea, when they think they're in France,
yeah.
and they hop a train. Well, they hide in a train, and they found out they've been taken inland, and so they shed their uniforms and as disguising themselves as best they can, so they don't get shot. If they're captured by the Germans,
And
and
then they
they
make
pull
the
up to a station, and there's a man standing on the platform, and Mainwaring asks in broken French, "Qu'est-ce que c'est la guerre?" Which, of course, says, "What is this station?" And the person on the platform with his bowler hat and his umbrella says, "La guerre, Eastbourne, actually." And then he says, "Oh, why are you speaking French?" He says, "Because we're British, you know." So,
yeah. There are a number of things about that rather appeal to me, because there they are, genuinely think they're stuck in the heart of occupied France, in real danger, and they've got to get back. And they split up, make their own way back to England as best they can. But Mainwaring takes Godfrey with him. He's not going to abandon him to his own fate. He's going to look after Godfrey because he knows he's the most vulnerable of all of them. And that's a small but significant footnote that I think often gets overlooked on that. This specific moment, Mainwaring is looking after Godfrey. And
yep.
the other thing about it is that of course they've disabled their weapons. They've thrown the bolts out of the wagon as they're going along. And the tag to the whole thing is, once they realise they're not in France, they're in England, and they can just go home. They can't get the train back home again because they've got to retrieve those bolts they threw away. They can't replace those. And the last we see of them is them trudging along the tracks into the distance, looking for these bolts. And it's funny, but it's also indicative of how many of Dad's Army episodes do just end on that, them seemingly out in the open, wandering away somewhere after the main business is gone. It's as if they didn't either couldn't think of or didn't want a strong end gag. It just they were content to wander into the distance under the
Very Chaplin-esque.
It is actually, yeah. I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah. A lot of them just meander off into them. A few of the Perrycroft etc. shows were inclined to do that. Some LO things ended on location film with them running off over the hills or being silly or something. So I guess it was something of a trademark of theirs. So, but whether you think it's effective or not, it's another matter.
And now we've reached number one of the top 10 moments in Dad's Army.
Yes, the deadly attachment, which back to Philip Maddock again, who I was talking about with you not very long ago in the context of Randall and Hopkirk, playing this scrupulous movie baddie Nazi among those.
A surly brute.
Surly brute, yes.
As
And
Mainwaring describes him.
Yeah, and this line is so famous that I don't know how much we need to build this up, really, but I still seem to recall that Perrycroft admitted they borrowed this from a line that had been previously used, borrowed the line from a previous show that had been used in, but it's famous from Dad's Army about, this German officer making a list of those who are being offensive to them and will be dealt with, as and when they have the opportunity. And it's like Pike sings this insulting song to the tune of Whistle While You Work, and the German officer wants to know his name. Of course, Mainwaring says, "Don't tell him, Pike." Yeah. So that
which I think to his dying day, people would shout at Ian Lavender in public.
Yeah, he was stuck with that as long as he lived. There are worse things to be tagged with, after all.
That's true. It's true. I mean, I've been shouted at in public, but nothing that's fondly remembered or something that people are particularly fond of. So,
Yeah, funny you
mm.
should say that. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll to continue certain other movie references. Well, we won't go into that.
Uh, well, that I think that wraps it up. If I'm sure this is a very controversial list, there'll be things that people disagreed with,
How
people
about
agreed with. I don't think anyone can really fault us for "Don't Tell 'Em Pike" as the number one most memorable moment in Dad's Army. But please feel free to comment and also feel free to subscribe and. Anything else?
Can I just say that the one thing that nobody's picked up on yet is something we should have addressed on the previous occasions. The man who was nearly Captain Mainwaring. I'd meant to mention this, like we both meant to, and it got lost in the shuffle, that at one point in the running earlier on, this Mainwaring was John Pertwee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd meant to mention it. We got it so involved in so many different, complex, interconnected points. Yeah, he was actually under consideration, John Pertwee, who, instead of that, shortly after took over the role of Doctor Who.
Mhm.
And is remembered by a lot of people for that, for different reasons. Much later was Wurzel Gummidge, the Scarecrow. And through a lot of all this, most of this period, not as far as Wurzel Gummidge, he was known on radio for the Navy Lark.
Mm.
More my role, and he actually, that was just a small sidelight. That was one of the reasons I could never really accept Doctor Who once he'd taken over, because John Pertwee, unlike his predecessors, was far too familiar to me in things I was aware of as a comic actor. Okay, William Hartnell was well known in films and TV to some degree, but much of that was before my time. Patrick Troughton was a well-known actor in dramas and so on, but not that familiar to me. Whereas John Pertwee, I knew as a funny man from other stuff, so I wasn't going to accept him in the role of the Doctor particularly. So, but there are some other aspects of that too that combine with this. But yeah, John Pertwee, who would have been far more of the expected opposite type.
Yeah.
Instead of having that balance where Mainwaring and Wilson effectively swapped in terms of who seemed like the natural officer, John Pertwee would have been the natural officer type as Mainwaring, and it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked. But a small coincidence, of course, he was a cousin of Bill Pertwee, who played the warden. So actually, would have had two related actors in the central cast if it had gone that way.
Yeah.
But there we are, a trivia note for you. But
There we go.
it also means don't write to us saying we should have mentioned John Pertwee, because we have.
Because now we have. So, but yeah, any comments? So keep those cards and letters and burn them, or no, keep those cards and letters coming in.
And please
And
don't, because they're messy.
so hopefully we'll be seeing you soon with another episode. And until then, watch some television, ruin your eyes,
Like we did.
like we did.
I thought
Spoil.
wearing glasses, but that's my incognito.
Well, I have to, or I can't say anything. So,
Yeah. I
but
can't see most of them. I've got them on.
do you need glasses? Yes, with beer in them. So
Yes. What's that mark on the nose there? That's from glasses. Have you tried contact lenses? No, they don't hold enough beer. Benny Hill, 1969, whatever.
Well, I could tell you some more things, but we'd better go. So we'll be seeing you all soon, hopefully.
Yes, with or without the glasses.